In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up and edit the Cost Entities area within the Preferences in vsHome. The Cost Entities area can be used to set up fitting charges and markups. Firstly, I'm going to explain the markup section and create a few examples of different markups you can apply to your products to enable the software to calculate your final selling prices. So to access the cost entities, you need to go up to the Preferences in the top right corner, and then select Cost Entities on the left. And within that, you can go into the Markup Management area. So before I start a markup, I will just give you a quick overview of this area. Here is where your list of markups will be once you've created them. And on the right here are buttons to create the markup, copy, edit, and delete existing markups. I'm going to start by creating a markup. Once you select Create, the Create New Markup window will appear, and this is where I can set the parameters of the markup. To begin with, I'm going to create a standard markup that will apply to everything. I can set the name in the description box. I'm just going to call it Standard Markup. Then, using the Item Type drop-down menu below, I can determine what items the markup will apply to. So for the standard markup, I want it to apply to everything, so I need to select all cost entities and survey data from the drop-down menu. Then all I need to do is set the value for the markup at the bottom of the window. For the sake of this exercise, I have chose to set it to 45%. However, you will need to consider the profit margin you are trying to achieve when deciding on a value for your markups. Okay, so now that's done, I can hit OK. Okay, now I'm going to create a dedicated markup for the survey data only and set this to a different amount. So we need to set a suitable name, and I'm going to call this one Survey Data Markup. And then from the item type drop-down menu, I can select Survey Data Only. Then set the value again at the bottom. This time I'm going to set it to 47.5%. Slightly different to the standard markup, and then hit OK. Now, what I want to do is go back into the standard markup, and I can do that by selecting it and clicking on Edit. Then if I go to the Item Type drop-down menu and just change it to Cost Entity, this will ensure the standard markup no longer applies to the survey data, and now I can select OK. Okay, so before we create any other markups, I'm going to show you how to exclude other elements from the standard markup if you didn't want them to be included, for example, the base element. This can be useful when you have already catered for the base markups within the cost control area of the preferences. So if we just go into the standard markup again, and to adjust this correctly, I leave model types applied to set to everything, but then adjust the product systems applied to drop-down menu to or just systems below. Then by ticking every box except customizable bases, the markup will apply to all model types and every element of those models except the base. For the sake of this exercise, I'm going to leave the base element included, so I'm just going to hit Cancel and go back. Okay, now I'm going to create a dedicated markup for solid roofs. I'm going to take the standard markup here and copy it using this button here. Firstly, I need to adjust the name. Now what I need to do is use the model types applied to drop-down menu and change it to or the items below. In this instance, I need to select solid roofs. Then using the product systems applied to drop-down menu, again changing it to or just systems below, and then selecting general solid roofs from the options below. This will ensure that the markup is only applied to the roof element of the model. Now I'm going to adjust the value up to 50%. So to summarize, what I've just done there is created a markup that will apply only to the roof element of solid roof models. In this case, the markup for the frames and base element will continue to be dictated by the standard markup. So now I can hit OK. Now what I'm going to do is create another markup, this time specifically for bifolding doors. So again, I'm just going to copy the standard markup and then adjust the name accordingly. The model types applied to will remain the same, as we want this to apply to all models, but we need to adjust the product systems applied to area so that the customizable frames option is selected. This will ensure that the markup is only applied to the frame element. The cost entities applied to and frame types applied to sections can then be used to further refine the markups to include individual elements of the chosen product system. In this case, we want to include only the door element of those frames by ticking the door frames option within the cost entities applied to section. Then we can refine the markup even further by including only the bifold element of those door frames by ticking the bifold option within the frame types applied to section. Now I'm going to adjust the value to 52.5% and then hit OK. As with the solid roof markup, all other types of window and doors will continue to have their markup dictated by the standard markup. Similar functionalities are also available within the remaining sections, allowing markups to be refined even further to take into account the shape of the frame, the window systems or dataset being used, and even the profile color which has been selected. Okay, so now we can move on to the fitting charge management area, which you can access to the left here under cost entities. So just hit yes to save the markups that we've just created. When setting up your fitting charges, you need to consider what products you are selling and installing and how the fitting times vary between those products. It's likely that a dedicated fitting charge will be required for each of the products you sell, which will reflect the differences in the time taken to install them. So firstly, I'm going to create a fitting charge that will only apply to models with a glass roof. This area has the same layout as the Markup Management area, so to create a fitting charge, just press Create here. Firstly, I need to give the fitting charge a description. So I'm just going to go with the same theme as all the other markups we've created. Then I need to change the model types applied to drop-down menu to or just items below and select conservatories. Then using the product systems applied to drop-down menu, select or just systems below again, and this time select general glazed roofs. This will ensure that the fitting charge is only being applied to the roof element of the model and will ensure that the charge is only applied to the model once. Okay, so now I can move on to the price field at the bottom. You will see the fitting charge uses a monetary value as opposed to the percentages in a markup. I'm going to set this to a value of £125. Please note that you will have to calculate your own fitting charges and that these values are for tutorial purposes only. You will notice the pricing type drop-down menu above. I would advise using the area pricing type generally, as this will take into account the size of the project and calculate the cost by meters squared. But there are other options available, such as a fixed value, which will mean that the fitting charge will remain the same for every model, regardless of the size. Moving on to the fields below, apply markup and apply discount. I'm going to leave these both set to yes. This means that any relevant markups will be applied to my fitting charge, and if any discounts are available, they will also be applied. Now that's done, I can hit OK. I'm now going to copy this fitting charge to create a fitting charge for models with a solid roof. So I'm just going to use this copy button here. Now I need to adjust the name, of course. This time we need to change the model types applied to area to include solid roofs rather than conservatories. Then moving down to the product systems applied to area, we need to select general solid roofs as opposed to general glazed roofs. Then the only other thing I'm going to do is adjust the price, and I'm going to bring it up to £150. This will reflect the extra time taken in installing solid roofs when compared to glass roofs. So that's all done. Now I can hit OK. Now I'm going to create a fitting charge for standalone frames. So I'm going to copy the glass roof fitting charge that we have created and then adjust the name accordingly. This time we need to adjust the model types applied to area to include all options relating to window frames. So I'm just going to deselect conservatories, and then I need to select single frames, coupled frames, bay and bow windows. Then moving down to the product systems applied to area, we need to select customizable frames and then deselect the glazed roof option. In this particular case, we need to refine the fitting charge even further. So we move down into the cost entities applied to area, and then we select window frame, door frame, gable frame, bay window, bow window, coupled frame, but not the frame material option. And this will mean that the charge is not applied to the window ancillaries element, such as couplers and sills, and will ensure that the charge is only applied once to each window or door model. For this fitting charge, I'm going to adjust the price to £50 and change the pricing type to fixed value, as we tend to refer to the window frames as individual items rather than by meters squared. This will mean that the fitting charge will remain the same for every model regardless of size or style. However, if you do want to consider the size of the window, then you can use the width, height or matrix width times height options from the pricing type drop-down menu. For the sake of this exercise though, I'm going to stick with a fixed value, and now that's done I can hit OK. And finally, I'm going to create a fitting charge dedicated to standalone bifold doors. I'm going to copy the fitting charge we just created for standalone frames, as a lot of the options will remain the same. So firstly, I need to adjust the name. All of the options will remain the same. However, we need to further refine the fitting charge within the frame types applied to area by specifying the bifold door option here, so that only the bifold door element is included. I'm going to increase the price to £75, and as with solid roofs, this will reflect the extra time taken in fitting a bifold door when compared to a standard window or door. Okay, so that's all done and I can hit OK. Finally, as we have created a specific fitting charge for bifolding doors, we need to ensure that the bifold door element is not included in the original standalone frames fitting charge we created, and we'll avoid both fitting charges being applied. So what I need to do is just go back into the standalone frames fitting charge by pressing edit, and then if we go down into the frame types applied to area and select every option except from the bifold door option, and then press OK. Okay, so now you can see we have created the 4 different fitting charges. To apply your new markups and fitting costs, make sure that when you close the preferences, you save the fitting charges and restart your software for the changes to take effect. For more tutorial videos, visit the support area on our website.